you, so we get to cast over the game. But Kelly, we'll miss you.
Fun, guys.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I am sorry that our visit was short-lived, but we always do appreciate a great Kelly Link host. If you guys want to see more action of her, she is usually on that NA West version of the FNCS where there are builds. But Panda, we're here celebrate a tournament with no builds. And honestly, listen, NA has not disappointed at all today. I loved that last game. Macwood and Threats really putting themselves up top of that leaderboard, 4th place position. I just want to remind everybody that top 5 actually at the end of these games will secure these players an invitation to a land that is happening later in the year in Saudi Arabia, where there will be a giant prize pool to fight for there. But Panda, we are actually competing today for charity money, so a great cause for all these players to kind of show up and show out for.
Yeah, absolutely. And these players have showed up and they are showing out, especially for Threats and Macwood. Clearly, Chonker Speedway is the home of champions. We saw Booga Miro take the FNCS finals from there, and now Threats and Macwood are looking to call it home. But speaking of home, it's our champs right now, Nut and Okus, still at the top of the leaderboard, and this makes perfect sense why. They're over at Command Cavern, one of the, if not the best POIs on the map right now, but they are not alone. It looks like Jath and Co are there as well. So it's going to be a tough start here for Nut and Okus. They need to make sure not only are they looting up, but they're staying alive against a team like this.
Yeah, you really do got to try to stay alive against these caliber of players. You can't just be lackluster, let your guard down at any point in time, especially, you know, they are up there on that blimp, right? And Kurt and Jath are kind of just down here. There are a lot of areas in this cavern where they're kind of like angles from up top because of the holes that are in the cavern itself. So you do got to be careful if there are players landing above you. But panning on over to Tilted Towers, this is actually one of the POIs where we've seen a lot of action, right? There is just so much loot at this POI, and then not to mention the blimp, which you can see Punisher and Zemi actually opt in to land up top. And this could turn into a very, very interesting play from Punisher here. I would love to see him like jump off on the blimp when he has an opportunity to find an elimination and then use the jetpack to kind of float in the air to make sure that he doesn't take fall damage. I think that would be super awesome.
I completely agree, and I think that's a play that we haven't seen really made too much. The jetpacks have been, I think, underutilized in the competition that we've been able to watch over on Europe. So to see it get used here on NA East, it's special. And hopefully we'll see a play coming from that. But Zemi says, you know what? I can't rely on Punisher just raining in chaos with the siege cannon. No, I got to be up top, ready to go. And hey, Pun, come back to me.
Wow. Zemi and Pun really got it down, huh? Like, they know all the little tricks. He's like, listen, I'm just going to go over here to this cannon. I know the angle that I need to aim myself at to kind of get back up to you. And Zemi, being the great teammate that he is actually watching the angles, making sure that Rhythm and Assassin can't get any shots while Punisher was flying through the air. So keeping them both safe, keeping that control over the Tilted Towers secured by them and Assassin and Rhythm. You know, they're going to be okay with this, right? Like, they have all this down here to loot. They can kind of just run about. But Punisher's like, hey, listen, we're still up here. Just as a little bit of a reminder, you know, don't be too lackluster.
Yeah, you definitely still need to be on your toes. You cannot waver here in these moments, especially considering it is zero build. You're not going to be able to build cover here from high ground. And Pun is more or less banking on that, right? That's why you see him up there, still raining down pressure from above, controlling the angles there and staying alive. But speaking of teams that are struggling a little bit more to stay alive, it's actually Jamper going down here to Soul. So Soul going to be able to hold on. Duke looking to get involved here as well and just immediately runs to the team. It looks like Cutie Lando, though, going to jump in the truck and try to steal it away. He does get one knock here, so now it is a 1v1. The shot's raining in. Cutie weak, but no, it doesn't matter. Gets the final shot onto Dukes, and Dukes is back in the lobby.
No way. I thought the Dukes had actually had that. It's one of those moments there, right, where you see Jamper go down. It's like, oh no, Dukes is in a 1v2 situation, but he rises to the occasion, just plows straight forward actually at the dough and finds a quick elimination. But with the quick little truck plays popping in and out of that passenger seat, taking some shots, does actually pick up the elimination on Dukes there with only 21 HP left. And if you guys are paying close attention to that elimination feed in the top left, as we watch Cease kind of track down Slacks here, Zemi, who is the duo of Punisher, actually eliminated Rhythm and Assassin after Punisher went down. So Punisher will have to get rebooted, but Zemi and Punisher, 2 eliminations to boot out of Tilted Towers.
Yeah, listen, the king of Tilted Towers, they take it. But speaking of people we need to appreciate, it's Cease. Cease has been not only a veteran in the space, but has been probably one of the few players that continually adapts to whatever is going on, right? So to see him in zero build and see him succeed in zero build is just on brand here for Cease. So him and Vert going to be playing together, going and now chasing Slacks down. They did get Slacks' teammate out of here, but they said, you know what? We're not going to settle for 1 elimination. We need the second one.
You know, I love that point that you brought up. Really, like any of the players who have been around in Fortnite competition for some years now, they're all just so great at adapting because we have seen so many different metas. We've gone through 3 different chapters, 3 different maps, right? A bunch of different weapons, utility items, some vehicles being implemented, like everything, right? Like a lot of these players have been through it all, and Cease is just one of those that you can really highlight, especially, you know, his performance at World Cup, which, you know, it has been a while since that was an actual competition, but probably one of the most prestigious events to actually happen so far. So that's why you always hear people reference it when we like to talk about how well these players do in these sort of events.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to talk about and highlight all the accolades across the board. But speaking of accolades, man, we've been talking about independent D-roller, and we've also been talking about the accolades that come with having a tank, right? The tank is just the dominant force in any lobby. It won threats in Macwood, that game that we just watched moments ago. And for them, they're opting to change the pace a little bit. It looks like the tank is no more. Now it's all about the semi-truck, which does have quite a bit of value as far as end games go. So I definitely expect to see another Macwood threats, high elimination in game. But will they be able to repeat the win, or will they fall short because maybe they just don't have that tank?
You know, they definitely do need another solid performance, as we see Punisher and Zemi here not happy with anybody rolling up onto the towers. As we mentioned, they did take out the contesting duo, so now they're looking to further defend it as they go for a little bit of a push. As we pan over here to Jaith and Kurt taking some shots at the players, they're going to be using that rift to go. Kurt putting down some very good shots. QT Lando in the sky with only about 20 HP left. Does fall right out of the sky, but no, it's not Jaith or Kurt who actually get it. I think Okus ended up taking out, and yeah, as you can see there, Okus and Nut coming into the picture there, just driving by in the tank. Going to be hitting probably like 1 bullet on QT Lando and going to be picking up that quick elimination steal. So Jaith and Kurt might not be too happy about that, but can't really do anything up against that tank that Okus and Nut has, so they're just going to have to settle for the loot that is going to be dropped.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And it was actually kind of cool to see the way that Jaith and Kurt were able to utilize the mantling there. Most players, when you first look at a building like that, you're going to be like, nah, there's no way I can get up to the roof. I'm just going to have to break it down, right? But no, they found a way to mantle on the frame and then mantle onto the roof. So that's going to be pretty impressive for them. But what's pretty impressive here is Nut and Okus not only being able to steal that elimination, but to understand that they are not ready to fully engage with Jaith and Co. They want to just take the elim and immediately move away. They know the value of having that tank in the later parts of the game is way higher than the potential, not the guarantee, but the potential of a few more eliminations.
Yeah, that's a great point, Panda. You know, we've talked about it as me and Pando have casted over some EU games. You know, you've really got to control your aggression, and even though Nut and Okus, as you mentioned, we're in a very advantageous position in that tank, there's just no reason, right? Like, let's just go and let's get to the end game rather than going for this mid-game fight, which could result in a negative, impactful experience. As we tune back into Punisher and Zemi, they still do have those 2 eliminations, so their push on Rotten Twinkies and Jack didn't necessarily work out probably as they hoped, but Jack and Twinkies also are probably happy with the result of that push, right? They are still in the game, and can see there, they actually have a tank. No, what am I talking about? Is Zemi actually out of the game? But has he been eliminated? I think he's been eliminated. Oh, wow. So Rotten Twinkies actually took out Zemi. I am just out of it right there. So Punisher not happy at all with how that push went.
Well, it's crazy to think about, right? Obviously, Pun went down there moments ago. Zemi was able to pick up the eliminations, but now it's a reverse situation. But Pun does not look to be in a position to be able to get these eliminations back, so he's going to have to play the Storm a little bit and just try to get Zemi back in the game. Obviously, the value is there, having your duo alive and making sure that you have both players ready to go and rearing for a great competition. So the last thing you want to do is leave your teammate behind, but you have to be careful, right? Even if you res in Storm, you are not impenetrable. Players from all around that region of the map will definitely be looking in as soon as they hear that reboot van.
And this has been an interesting strategy from Chapman Degen. They always like to find themselves a truck, right? But then when they have that truck, they just kind of like park it in the middle of nowhere and just kind of like sit there, right? And there's like no real cover that's around them. Usually we see people hide their vehicles like behind cover, but like no, they like to just drive and park wherever, and they just like to read their surroundings and then kind of react based on that. So I mean, it's worked out so far, right? We when we look at the leaderboards, they have been top 8, but they do need to do a little bit better to get to that top 5. Again, it does secure you an invitation to that LAN, which they obviously are going to hope for. As we look at the map here, we do see some players down at Chonker Speedway, potentially preparing for a little bit of a heal off. And looking at Tilted Towers, Lando actually gets rebooted as Punisher is also over in Tilted Towers. You know, you were talking about how he is most likely going to be looking for a reboot onto Zemi, but with Lando getting rebooted, he's going to have to wait for that cooldown.
Yeah, it's actually impressive there for Sol and Lando. They're both back in the game, but they're, again, Punisher being denied something yet again, and it now being denied the reboot there onto Zemi. It's going to be a tough call for him as well as the zone continues to close in, and we are in zone 3, meaning it's starting to really take away here. They cannot, and in Pun, cannot afford to just lie still in the Storm. They have to make a play, and that play is probably going to be to get out of Storm and potentially try to find another reboot van. But in the zero build meta, it's very, very tough to reboot when you're not covered by something. And the remainder of the map, there's not too much coverage left where their reboot vans are.
And here we see the showcase of D-Roller and NPen's aim potential as Rogue Shark finds himself in a situation where he has to use that rift to go to escape the pressure, but no, not enough. D-Roller and NPen are going to be picking up in eliminations on a Rogue Shark and Knight, and they're going to be totaling 4 eliminations already. And interesting to see that D-Roller is actually carrying around a shotgun, you know, from trioing and teaming with him. He does like those close encounter situations, but it's very, very hard to force those in this game mode. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of plays around that weapon.
Yeah, they definitely need to be careful in the way that they play this, but looking at Shades here, the heavy sniper in hand. Listen, this is one of those weapons that in EU is way underutilized. The damage that thing puts out onto vehicles is massive. So I'm excited to see that in Shades' hands, but will he be able to take advantage of it? That's the real question, especially with players like Carry and Fatch here, 2 separate vehicles, one of them being a tank. It's going to be tough to stop him. Carry automatically getting that elimination or that knock there. Actually, it's Fatch getting the knock onto NPen. And now NPen's teammate just trying to stay alive. D-Roller holding on. He does throw down the cow catchers and has to take those floppers if he's not careful. Carry, though, will take the shot, and a huge shot at that. D-Roller, unfortunately, probably not going to be able to make it in. Is going to need to try to get the elimination to get the siphon, but no, denied. Has to go back to the lobby as Carry continues on here in this game and in this tank.
Yeah, unfortunate for D-Roll right there. NPen going down, right? You got to be very, very careful about how you play the situation. You find themselves in the open, and then Carry and Fat kind of just do the rest there. He doesn't really have anywhere to run, no cover to go to. So you got to always be careful, watch your angles, be very well aware of your surroundings, because at any moment, if you are out in the open, you can't just build a wall, Panda. This isn't regular Fortnite. No builds, no nothing. And if you don't have any mobility, like shockwaves to kind of get you out of that situation, or any of those cow catchers to kind of throw down some impromptu cover, then you just have nowhere to go. as we see Carry and Fatch going to be experiencing what an Anvil rocket launcher can do to your vehicle.
Yeah, definitely an experience, man. Look, that's one of those things we talked about it before. We want to see more of. We want to see more of these anti-vehicle weapons utilized, and the Anvil launcher is just one of them. But for Jade and Kurt, they're up on the high ground. It looks like they both equally have an anti-vehicle defense system, right? Jade's got the Anvil launcher, and I believe Kurt's got the heavy sniper, but it's about using it collectively, playing it as a duo and getting those vehicles out of the lobby, especially with a high ground spot like that, is definitely going to be the game plan for them. But the game plan for Macwood and Threats, stay alive, get some more eliminations, and potentially walk away with another win.
Panda, did you see Macwood's inventory right there? One, very unconventional, and the fact that he has the MK7 over the burst. We've seen a lot of people take the burst, but then his other 4 inventory slots, he had 2 fuel cans, 1 repair torch, and then just 6 chug splashes. So he is all about keeping the possibilities of his vehicle alive, and that's very, very interesting, right? Because I feel like whilst they have a very reliant strategy, as we saw in the last game, on the survivability of their vehicle, right? Whenever they kind of form themselves an area to kind of that they've secured, they aren't necessarily sitting in the vehicle, right? They're kind of, you know, they're out of the vehicle, they're using their weapons to defend it, kind of push anybody out of that area. So typically they don't even really need to, you know, repair or give the vehicle any fuel, because they're usually not even really in it. As we can see, Threats wishing that he was in a vehicle right now as he finds himself in an interesting situation on the edge of zone, tries to just hide behind the tree, but no, there's way too many things in the game that could just remove that tree almost instantly.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think with obviously Ocus and not being not only at the top of the leaderboard, but looking at a really good possibility of a victory royale here, they're going to continue on. They're going to continue reigning the terror that is the tank and that burst assault rifle. You saw it from them, and you see it here from Kurt as well. These players, they're finding themselves in good positions. They're finding the proper loadouts, the proper vehicles to have, and then they are just raining down terror for any player that doesn't have those things. And that's what's happening here. You see players like AV stuck on the edge of zone, struggling to rotate because you have players like Nut and Ocus that are going to continue to hold you out.
And look at this high ground that Season Fur actually have. I'm not sure if that's going to be in the next zone, so he might have to make a rotation, but it's very, very good to be in those type of situations. As you can see, Kurt knows that that duo is up there, and he's just kind of hide away, make his presence unknown as Cease kind of lays down some shots, and they are actually going to have to rotate further into the zone. As we see Chap here actually hiding as a solo, is going to take out Ocus nonetheless, who was feeling pretty comfortable in the tank, but no, Sizlucky and Shades, they find themselves with a tank of their own, and they actually are going to go ahead and destroy Nut and Ocus's tank. Now Nut going to be making a desperate play here with his shockwave. He's going to find himself onto Chap with that shotgun, going to take him out very, very quickly, as now Shades and Sizlucky, Chronicles of the Tank Part 2, going to be taking out the previous driver of that tank, and now they're kind of left in this lobby with a lot more firepower than anybody else has.
Yeah, and it looks like this lobby is dwindling down fast. You see players like Dunks and Chen here, they're just trying to stay alive, try to stay involved despite not having too much to work with. They do hear the rift though, so they potentially might run for that. But when you got players like Sizlucky and Shades in a tank shooting at every player that they see, they actually probably have the highest position here on the map, and probably the only position with the angle of every remaining player here. And as I say that, you see Nox coming through. Carry just trying to use the rift to stay in the sky and avoid the pressure that's coming from Shades and Sizlucky. Now, another rift is popped again. Like we talked about in the beginning of this game, just the true impact of having the rift to go in the game, keeping you alive for just a few moments longer. This is going to be huge, the way this is continuing to play out. But Carry lost Fatch, now playing as a solo player, looking to stay alive, but now the eyes are locked in. Carry on the receiving end of the pressure of the tank. Will he be able to hold on? Will he be able to exchange? But no, Carry goes down. Sizlucky and Shades. The tank is just too strong, Vivid.
Yeah, taking the full brute force of the tank there, right? He was just kind of standing his ground, taking shots, doing as much time as he could. He's like, listen, rest of the lobby, where are you guys at? You know, help me out. This tank is in the middle of the zone. Where are you guys at? But no, a lot of people up in the sky, actually, because of that rift to go. And as you can see over here, Kurt actually off to the side, trying to stay alive as a solo. And here, all these players come down. Sizlucky gonna look up here and realize these are where all the enemies are actually at. They're flying down with their gliders. As we can see, Shint here, he's going to be putting himself in a very close position to the tank, and no, that's not going to work out all too well as the Riftigo actually takes Sizlucky and the tank up into the sky.
And that might be able to take Sizlucky out, and it does. Sizlucky goes down. What a play here. Honestly, listen, that is kind of a kidnapping there of Sizlucky and co, right? That was the only play that you really could do to see them not come out on top, but now it looks like Kurt could come out on top, does get the knock there onto Chen, and here it is. We talked about it before. It's SJ. Wait.
What?
You saw the same inventory as me, right?
Chug splashes, floppers, what? And
I definitely believe that they had everything to remain alive, and unfortunately, they just didn't use